Hey Cowboys Nation, welcome back to the channel. Grab your snacks, settle in, and let's talk Dallas Cowboys because oh boy, there's a lot to unpack today. From the top of the organization all the way down to the pass rush, this team is giving us plenty to dissect, debate, and honestly get a little frustrated about. Jerry Jones is back in the headlines, which usually means something interesting or confusing is going on. This time, it's his bold claim that the Cowboys' biggest strength on defense is the pass rush. Yeah, you heard that right. According to Jerry, the Cowboys are stacked up front, deep, and ready to dominate quarterbacks across the league. But if you've actually been watching these games, you know that statement doesn't exactly match what we've been seeing on Sundays. Let's break it down for a second. Sure, Dallas has plenty of names on the depth chart. You've got guys like Dante Fowler, Sam Williams, and Davon, all solid players in their own right. But are they elite? Are they difference makers who can take over games the way the great pass rushers do? That's where things start to fall apart. Right now, the Cowboys don't have a single edge rusher ranking in the top 40 across the entire league in total pressures. That's not elite. That's not dominant. That's average at best. Sam Williams and Dante Fowler lead the team with 15 pressures each, which sounds okay on paper until you look at the efficiency. Their pressure rates are barely above 11 and 12%. James Houston, meanwhile, has managed 8 pressures, but at least he's been converting them in his sacks when he gets close. The rest of the rotation just kind of they're filling space, trying to find consistency. Here's the crazy part. The best pass rushers on this defense aren't even the edge guys. It's the defensive tackles Osaod Tagazawa and Kenny Clark who are creating the most disruption. Those two interior players are leading the team in pressures, which should tell you something about the state of the edge rush. Yes, they play more snaps, but even then their pressure rates aren't far off in the edge defenders. When your tackles are doing the heavy lifting, it's hard to argue that the pass rush is anywhere near strength. James Houston currently leads the team in sacks with 3.5. Behind him, you've got Clark Fowler and Odigazawa with 1.5 each. Sam Williams has 1, Mars Han-In has 1, and that's the list. That's the entire sack production. For a defense that was supposed to be fast, ferocious, and loaded with depth, those numbers just don't cut it. So, when Jerry Jones goes on air and says, "We're strongest in our pass rush," I got to laugh a little. Maybe he's looking at the roster sheet and counting bodies instead of production. Because having a bunch of names doesn't mean you've got a great group. This isn't a rotation filled with Pro Bowlers. It's a mix of role players, and that's fine, but you can't sell that as elite. Every week we're seeing opposing quarterbacks stand tall, move the pocket, and get throws off cleanly. That's not what a top-tier pass rush looks like. That's what happens when you have a lot of good enough players but no real game wreckers. And you can't ignore the ripple effect this has on the rest of the defense. When the front four can't get consistent pressure, the secondary gets exposed. Linebackers get lost in coverage, and the whole system starts to crack. Jerry can say whatever he wants, but the tape doesn't lie. Every fan watching these games knows exactly what's going on. You might have decent edge depth, but you don't have that alpha presence. That guy who demands double teams, who forces offensive coordinators to change their protection schemes. Without that, you're just hoping someone wins a one-on-one once in a while. That's not a plan. That's wishful thinking. Now, to be fair, it's not like the Cowboys have completely collapsed. They've still managed to stay competitive thanks to some strong play from the interior and occasional big stops and key moments. But there's a big difference between surviving and dominating. The Cowboys were built, or at least sold, as a team that could dominate defensively, and that hasn't been the case. Even Jerry knows it deep down, but instead of acknowledging the issue, he does what he always does. Spins the narrative, shifts the focus, and finds a way to avoid blame. That's the Jerry Jones special. He wants the credit when things go right, but when they don't, suddenly it's on the coaches or the players. Speaking of coaches, that brings us to Matt Everfull, the defensive coordinator, who somehow still got the backing of the Jones family, and offensive coordinator Brian Schottenheimer recently came out and said, "Matt's a damn good coach. We got to play better, but I believe in him." That's a nice quote and it sounds supportive, but let's read between the lines. When a coordinator has to be publicly defended, that's never a great sign. It means people are asking questions internally and results aren't matching expectations. The Cowboys' defense looks confused at times, especially against the run. Missed tackles, poor gap control, and miscommunications have all been way too common. It's also pretty telling that Schottenheimer, who's supposed to be focused on the offense, has started spending more time with the defensive side of the ball. That's not normal. That's a clear sign the staff knows something's wrong, and they're trying to fix it before it spirals further. But there's only so much tinkering you can do mid-season, especially when the issues might be more about personnel and front office decisions than just play calling. The Cowboys don't like making in-season firings. It's just not how this organization operates. Even when the writing is on the wall, they'll ride it out hoping things magically improve. And Jerry made it pretty obvious why. When he was asked about Everfluss, he said, "That's who I want in the foxhole with me. I still feel as strongly as I did the day I brought him in here." That right there says it all. Jerry's the one who handpicked him. There wasn't some big coaching search or an intense interview process. They had already decided who their defensive coordinator was going to be before Schottenheimer even officially took over. It's the same pattern we've seen before. The front office makes the decision. The head coach just nods along and everyone pretends it was collaborative. We saw it with Kel Moore, with Mike Zimmer, and now again with The Jones family loves control, and they don't like to admit when that control leads to mistakes. This is why it's hard to ever fully buy into the Cowboys. We're all in messaging. The front office loves to meddle. They love to shape the narrative. And when things go sideways, they'll talk about little things that just need fixing instead of admitting bigger problems exist. That's exactly what Jerry did again, saying, "It's not one or two major things. It's a lot of little things. Come on, when your pass rush can't get home, when your linebackers are missing reads, when your defensive backs are getting exposed because quarterbacks have all day to throw, that's not little things. That's structural. That's about roster building and coaching, not bad luck or small tweaks. At some point, you just have to call it like it is. This team has talent, but it's not being used effectively. The defensive line rotation looks deep on paper, but hasn't produced consistent results. The linebackers are struggling to read plays. The secondary can't hold coverage for 6 or 7 seconds every snap. And yet Jerry Jones keeps stepping up to a microphone, insisting everything's fine. Everything's fixable, everything's still going according to plan. That's the same story we've heard for years. And while fans keep hoping that this will finally be the season it all clicks, the same issues keep circling back. Every quote, every press conference, every justification from Jerry always seems to come back to one thing: protecting his ego. It's always about how he made the right hires, how he believes in his guys, how it's just a few tweaks away from greatness. Never once is it about accountability. Never once is it about saying, "We messed up." And until that changes, Cowboys Nation will keep watching the same movie over and over again, hoping for a different ending. Now, let's shift gears and talk about what's next for this defense, because whether Jerry admits it or not, things have to change. One of the biggest storylines right now is the return of Demarion Overshown. Brian Schottenheimer hinted earlier this week that the young linebacker might be getting close to coming back, saying he expects him to be available within the next week or two. That's exciting news for a unit that has desperately needed a spark. Overshown was one of the most promising defenders on the roster before his injury, and his combination of speed, range, and instincts is exactly what this defense has been missing. But even with the optimism surrounding his recovery, expectations need to stay realistic. Coming off a major knee injury, it's going to take time for him to get back in a game shape and regain that full burst we saw last season. If everything goes according to plan, the Cowboys could decide to activate his practice window after the bye week, possibly targeting his return around Week 11 against the Raiders. That would line up with the timeline Schottenheimer mentioned, and it would also give Overshown a little extra time to condition and work his way back gradually. The Cowboys are usually cautious with players returning from significant injuries, and they should be. They need Overshown long-term, not just as a short-term fix to patch a leaky defense. But make no mistake, when he's back, he's going to help. His ability to cover running backs out of the backfield, his pursuit speed, and his awareness and zone coverage could immediately upgrade what has been one of the weakest spots on the team. Because, let's be honest, the linebacker play this season has been rough. Kenneth Murray has looked lost far too often. The communication isn't there. The reads are slow and the tackling angles are off. When you watch the film, you can almost feel the hesitation. Murray seems to be thinking instead of reacting, and that's the worst thing you can do. As a linebacker in the NFL, the defense needs Overshown's energy. They need his instincts. They need someone who doesn't just chase the ball, but actually diagnoses the play before it develops. That's something this group has lacked badly. Shamar James, the young rookie, might still be learning, but honestly, he couldn't do much worse than what we've seen so far. At least he plays fast and aggressive, even if he makes mistakes. Sometimes that's better than playing scared or confused. but it's important not to throw the entire burden on overshown shoulders. This defense isn't one player away from being fixed. It's going to take a collective improvement, better discipline up front, tighter coverage on the back end, and more creative play calling from the coaching staff. The good news is that reinforcements might be coming elsewhere, too. Schottenheimer and Jerry both suggested that CeeDee Lamb, Cavani Turpin, and Tyler Booker are all trending toward returning soon. Those names matter. Lamb's presence on offense gives the team balance and helps the defense by keeping drives alive and giving them more rest. When Lamb and Pickens are both on the field, defenses have to stay honest, which opens things up for everyone else. The Cowboys' passing game has looked solid without Lamb, but having him back turns that offense from good to dangerous. Turpin's potential return could also make a difference on special teams and in those gadget plays the Cowboys like to sprinkle in. His foot injury seems to be the same one Darren Bland had earlier this season, and Bland returned after 2 weeks, so the timeline feels realistic. As for Tyler Booker, his absence has been felt up front. The offensive line hasn't looked the same, especially in the run game where the interior blockers have struggled to open consistent lanes. Getting him back would give Dak Prescott more protection and help reestablish the ground attack that's been missing lately. If Booker can practice in a limited capacity midweek, he might suit up sooner rather than later. But if he can't, the team will likely hold him out until after the bye. But before we continue, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and give this video a like. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest updates on the Dallas Cowboys. Feel free to share your thoughts on the news in the comments as well. Whispers are circulating through the NFL corridors, and if the rumors hold any weight, they could send shockwaves across the league. Sources close to the situation suggest that Calvin Ridley, the talented wide receiver who had been drawing attention with his brief stint to the Tennessee Titans, has reportedly abandoned the team to ink a deal with the Dallas Cowboys. While nothing has been officially confirmed, insiders hint that the Cowboys have been quietly orchestrating a move that could reshape their offensive strategy. Ridley, who has faced a roller coaster career in recent years, seems to be chasing not just playing time, but a starring role in a team known for its high-octane passing game. Analysts are already speculating how he might fit into a Cowboys roster that has long been seeking another reliable target to complement its existing offensive weapons. The potential signing would signal Dallas' intention to make a splash, and fans are buzzing with anticipation about what Ridley's arrival could mean for a team that has flirted with playoff contention in recent seasons. Meanwhile, Titans fans are reportedly in disbelief, struggling to digest news that a player they had just welcomed might be packing his bags before the season even heats up. The murmur suggests that tensions behind the scenes, coupled with Ridley's desire for a fresh start and a bigger role, may have driven the sudden change. The NFL community is no stranger to surprise roster shifts, but a high-profile move like this, if true, would undoubtedly dominate headlines for weeks to come. Sources hint that Dallas sees Ridley as a potential game-maker, someone capable of electrifying the field and drawing coverage away from other key playmakers. Speculation is also swirling about how this could impact team dynamics, salary negotiations, and a strategic playbook for the upcoming season. As the rumor mill spins, social media has exploded with fans reacting to the possible coup, dissecting every potential matchup and imagining what a Ridley Cowboys connection could look like in the heat of competition. While all of this remains in the realm of rumor, one thing is certain. If Calvin Ridley truly leaves the Titans for Dallas, the NFL landscape might just shift overnight, leaving coaches, fans, and analysts scrambling to adjust to a stunning new reality. The league has always thrived on surprises, but few would have predicted such a sudden, headline-grabbing twist involving one of its most dynamic wide receivers. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to keep receiving exclusive news about the Dallas Cowboys, please subscribe to our channel and give this video a like. We always look forward to your comments and opinions. See you in the next.